Star Trek has captivated audiences for decades, but even the most dedicated fans have overlooked some astonishing details hidden throughout the series. What you're about to hear will change how you see Star Trek forever. Fact 1. The iconic warp speed sound effect of the USS Enterprise is unforgettable.
Explore strange new worlds, scout new life and new civilizations.
But few people realize how it was actually created. Instead of futuristic technology or advanced synthesizers, sound designer Jack Finley turned to something shockingly ordinary: an air conditioner. He discovered that slowing down and layering the hum of the unit produced a deep, resonant vibration. This low rumble had an eerie quality that instantly sounded futuristic. Finley then combined it with other modified recordings to give it more texture. The resulting sound made audiences believe in warp engines that could bend space and time. What's fascinating is that such a crucial part of Star Trek's soundscape was born from a household appliance. Later science fiction shows borrowed the same technique, proving its effectiveness. Even films with massive budgets returned to simple, real-world sounds to anchor their futuristic ideas. The magic lies not in the machine, but in the creativity to transform it. Star Trek consistently made the impossible seem real by grounding it in the familiar. The warp sound was one of many clever tricks the production team used to stretch a limited budget, and yet it became one of the franchise's most enduring audio signatures. Fans still get chills when they hear it, unaware of its humble origin. It's a reminder that the future is often built from the most ordinary present. The next time you hear those engines roar, you'll realize you're actually listening to air conditioning. But if you thought that was just a camera trick, wait until you hear what was really going on with the uniforms. Fact 2.
Did Outpost 4 give anything at all on the attacking vessel, Lieutenant?
No identification, sir.
When fans picture the original crew of the Enterprise, they usually imagine gold, blue, and red uniforms. But the truth is far stranger than it seems. The so-called gold shirts weren't gold at all. They were lime green. Because of the studio lighting and the way early television cameras processed color, the green fabric appeared golden on screen. This mistake wasn't noticed until years later when fans examined surviving uniforms in museums. William Shatner himself confirmed that his tunic was green, not gold. The production team never corrected the misconception because audiences had already embraced the illusion. This small detail became one of the most enduring myths of Star Trek. It shows how the technology of the time shaped our perception of the show. Early color TV had quirks that modern audiences can barely imagine. To fans, command always looked golden, but behind the scenes it was anything but. This strange accident gave Star Trek its distinctive color palette without anyone realizing. It also proves how unreliable memory can be when combined with flawed technology. Even today, countless fans are shocked when they learn the truth. In a way, the uniforms reveal that the show was both futuristic and primitive at once. What we thought was gold was really the green of the future. And if that twist surprised you, the secret behind the Vulcan salute will blow your mind even more.
We're minutes away, Hanson. What's your status?
Outposts 2, 3, and 8 are gone.
Fact 3. The Vulcan salute, one of Star Trek's most recognizable symbols.
How does that Vulcan salute go? That hurts worse than the uniform.
Wasn't invented by writers or directors. It came from Leonard Nimoy himself. Nimoy drew inspiration from his Jewish heritage, remembering a blessing performed in synagogue. The gesture represented the Hebrew letter Shin, which stood for Shaddai, or God. Nimoy suggested it as the perfect greeting for Vulcans, who were portrayed as logical but deeply spiritual. At first, producers were uncertain if viewers would understand the unusual hand gesture, but once it appeared on screen, it became an instant icon. The salute perfectly captured the mystique of Vulcan culture. Fans everywhere began imitating it, not realizing its sacred origin. Nimoy was quietly embedding his own background into his character. It was a subtle act of cultural preservation within a science fiction setting. The salute's meaning deepened as Star Trek evolved, becoming a sign of peace and connection. Live long and prosper became more than a catchphrase. It was a cultural bridge. The salute is now recognized worldwide, even outside Star Trek fandom. It demonstrates how personal creativity can ripple across generations. Every time Spock raised his hand, he was also sharing something of himself.
And long life, Spock.
Live long and prosper, Miranda.
In the end, the most alien gesture in Star Trek was rooted in something deeply human. But if you think that's the only language Star Trek created, wait until you hear about Klingon. Fact 4. At first, Klingons didn't have their own language. James Doohan, who played Scotty, improvised guttural sounds to give them a fierce identity. These growls and shouts sounded alien enough for early episodes. But when the films demanded more realism, linguist Mark Okrand was hired to expand it. Okrand developed a complete language, complete with grammar, syntax, and thousands of words. Klingon soon became one of the most detailed fictional languages ever made. Dedicated fans embraced it, studying dictionaries and attending classes. Some even became fluent, holding entire conversations in Klingon. Shakespeare was translated into the language, proving its richness. What started as a random improvisation grew into a cultural phenomenon. Klingon became more than fiction. It became a community. Star Trek had accidentally created a living tongue. It blurred the line between storytelling and reality. Few shows could claim such an achievement. The existence of Klingon speakers today shows the depth of Star Trek's impact. A growl on set became a second language for humanity. And if you thought Klingon fans were devoted, just wait until you discover how NASA itself got involved.
It's hard to believe one's so stupid and weak.
Fact 5.
Lieutenant, contact the space station.
Captain, the station is calling us.
All right, put them on.
In the 1970s, NASA was preparing to unveil its first space shuttle. The plan was to call it Constitution, honoring America's heritage. But Star Trek fans had other ideas. They launched a massive letter-writing campaign urging NASA to name it Enterprise instead. The response was overwhelming, with thousands of letters pouring in. NASA listened, and the shuttle was renamed in honor of the show. In 1976, the cast of Star Trek attended the rollout ceremony. For the first time, science fiction directly influenced real-world space exploration. The shuttle itself never flew in space, but it symbolized a bridge between imagination and reality. It demonstrated the power of fandom to change history. Politicians and scientists acknowledged how deeply Star Trek inspired people. Without the show, the shuttle might have carried a very different name. Instead, it carried the spirit of exploration and adventure. The connection proved that Star Trek wasn't just entertainment, it was a vision of the future. NASA's decision immortalized the Enterprise beyond television. It was a victory for fans and dreamers everywhere. Star Trek literally changed the name of a spacecraft, but if you thought Tribbles were just a joke, you'll be shocked at what they really represented.
Unit. On the board, sir. The moment he begins entering the comet's tail, he becomes visible.
Fact 6. Tribbles are remembered as the adorable, fuzzy creatures that overran the Enterprise. They seemed like harmless comic relief, but their true purpose was much darker. Writer David Gerrold designed them as an allegory for overpopulation. Modeled after rabbits, Tribbles reproduced at an alarming rate. Within hours, they had overwhelmed the ship's systems. This reflected real-world concerns in the 1960s about global population growth. Scientists at the time warned of food shortages and limited resources. Star Trek turned those fears into a lighthearted storyline. Behind the humor was a chilling warning. Tribbles showed how quickly unchecked reproduction could become catastrophic. Their cuteness masked the seriousness of the message. Fans often laugh at Tribbles without realizing the commentary. Star Trek frequently disguised social critiques as science fiction tales. This was one of the most subtle examples. Tribbles weren't just funny, they were a cautionary tale. Star Trek used fluff to deliver a serious warning about the future. And speaking of the future,
Thousands of them.
Hundreds of thousands. 1,771,561.
Fact 7. Nichelle Nichols, who played Uhura, was ready to leave Star Trek after the first season.
Mr. Spock, I haven't done anything like this in years. If it isn't done just right, I could build the entire communication system.
She felt her role was limited and wanted to pursue other opportunities. But then she attended an event where she met Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. King told her how important Uhura was as a symbol of progress. He explained that seeing a black woman in a position of authority on the bridge inspired countless people. Nichols was stunned by his words. She realized her presence carried immense cultural weight. For many viewers, Uhura represented a future of equality. Nichols decided to stay, understanding the responsibility she held. Her decision changed television history. Without her, representation might have been set back decades. Star Trek became a pioneer of diversity on screen. Nichols later worked with NASA to recruit women and minorities into space programs. She became a real-world ambassador for inclusion. Her near departure turned into one of Star Trek's greatest legacies. Uhura wasn't just a character, she was a movement.
Why don't you tell me I'm an attractive young lady? Or ask me if I've ever been in love? Tell me how your planet Vulcan looks on a...
But while fans focused on the crew, the set itself hid secrets that only mathematicians could spot. Fact 8.
Pull astern. Emergency warp. Do we have emergency warp?
Full power, sir. It's still overtaking us.
The blinking control panels of the Enterprise look like random designs. But many weren't random at all. The set designers embedded real mathematical equations into the displays. They wanted the bridge to feel functional to anyone who looked closely. Logic puzzles and formulas were carefully chosen for authenticity. Few viewers ever noticed during broadcasts. But mathematicians later recognized the hidden details. This gave the illusion that the Enterprise truly operated on advanced principles. It showed respect for science and intelligence. The designers weren't content with flashing lights. They wanted accuracy. This level of detail made the set feel alive. Star Trek blurred the line between fiction and reality once again. For those who spotted the equations, the bridge became even more believable. It wasn't just decoration, it was coded intelligence. Every console hinted at deeper layers of science. The Enterprise was secretly solving problems in the background. Fans who noticed knew the ship was more than a prop. And while the ship's panels were filled with secrets, one of the most famous quotes of all time was never actually said. Fact 9.
Helm, hard over. Phasers, fire, point blank.
Phasers, fire!
"Beam me up, Scotty" is one of the most quoted phrases in pop culture. But Captain Kirk never said those exact words. Throughout the series, variations appeared. Sometimes it was, "Scotty, beam us up," or simply, "beam me up." But the iconic phrase never left Kirk's lips. Despite this, the misquote spread across generations. It became part of the collective memory of Star Trek. Psychologists call this the Mandela effect, where people remember something that never happened. The line appeared on merchandise, parodies, and fan art. Over time, it became inseparable from the franchise. Even William Shatner has joked about the false quote. It shows how powerful repetition and memory can be. Fans created their own version of the show in their minds. The real scripts tell a different story. Kirk never said it, but the world believed he did.
The women on your planet are logical. That's the only planet in this galaxy that can make that claim.
In the end, fiction and memory merged into one myth. But while fans misremembered the dialogue, the bridge itself was hiding one last real-world secret. Fact 10. The Enterprise bridge wasn't dreamed up out of pure imagination. Designers studied real-world naval command centers for inspiration. They wanted the layout to feel efficient and believable. That's why Kirk's chair sat at the center, slightly elevated. This mirrored the position of a captain on a Navy vessel. Officers' stations were arranged around him for clear communication. Every console had a specific purpose tied to real hierarchy. The Navy's influence grounded the futuristic set in reality. Star Trek used military tradition to shape its vision of the future. The design made the bridge look authoritative and functional. Viewers felt it was a place of command, not just decoration. The blend of fact and fiction gave Star Trek its realism. The bridge became one of television's most iconic sets. Fans instantly recognized it as the heart of the Enterprise. Without naval influence, it might have looked chaotic. Instead, it was structured and believable. The future was modeled on the past, making it timeless. And that's why the Enterprise wasn't just a set. It was a living symbol of command.